Thanks for joining us on this edition of National Focus. I'm Jarna Hector. Coming up, Prime Minister Skerrit makes a case for the lifting of the U.S. embargo against Cuba. Dominica hosts a CSME labor workshop, and Early Childhood Month kicks off. Stay tuned for details of these and other stories after this.
A lot of bathtubs are blamed for bruises. Some staircases are accused of being responsible for broken bones. Doors are occasionally viewed suspiciously as causing lesions. A high percentage of tables are accused of producing bleeding or trauma. Violence against women is a crime, and it's everyone's responsibility. It's inexcusable. If you're a victim or witness of physical or psychological violence or abuse, seek help and denounce the perpetrator.
Thanks for staying with us. The Honorable Prime Minister Skerrit is advocating for the United States to lift its over 50-year ban on Cuba. The economic, commercial, and financial embargo imposed by the United States against Cuba was meant to bring about hunger, desperation, and the overthrow of the Cuban government, according to a resolution presented by Cuba at the UN's 69th General Assembly. The resolution also says that the embargo is not only being maintained, but is constantly being made more rigorous by the U.S. government. As a diplomatic partner, Dominica stands in support of Cuba and the 187 other UN member states which are in favor of lifting the ban.
We have always maintained, publicly, at the United Nations in particular, and we have called on the United States of America to end this unjust blockade that has been affecting the way of life in Cuba for more than 50 years. It is an affront to justice and humanity for any country to impose that level of force on any other country.
The Honorable Prime Minister went further to say that this is a matter of principle.
We have a moral duty as citizens of the world, forgetting our ideological thinking and our philosophical views. If we believe in justice, and if we believe that each of us have a right to move freely and to define our way of life, that embargo on Cuba is unjust. And this is not about engaging the United States in any confrontation. It's about standing on principle. And you can negotiate words, but you should not ever negotiate principles. And I believe each one of us in this country, in this world, must continue to demonstrate that solidarity with Cuban people and to continue to call on the United States to end this embargo on the Cuban people.
According to the resolution presented to the UN General Assembly, the United States extends the Trading with the Enemy Act every year since it was first passed in 1917 as a war measure to restrict trade with hostile nations. Today, those terms only apply to Cuba. The Prime Minister also called for Cuba to be removed from that list.
And when I addressed the Cuban people in Cuba about a year ago, I said, well, if sending doctors and nurses to fight cholera in Haiti and sending doctors and nurses to all parts of the world and humanitarian help is terrorism, then Cuba is guilty. But one cannot point to any action that the Cuban people have taken that would justify any country to place Cuba on a list of countries sponsoring terrorism. Which terrorist group that Cuba has supported? And which country that is involved in terrorism Cuba is supporting, financially or otherwise?
In more news, the government of Dominica has secured its first project under the real estate component of the Citizenship by Investment program. The Honorable Prime Minister Skerrit says a luxury resort at Cabrit's Portsmouth is the first of its kind in Dominica. He made the announcement at an agreement signing for the said resort last Friday between the government of Dominica and the Range Capital Partners Dominica Limited.
In the 2013 budget address, I announced the intention of government to introduce a real estate component of the Citizenship by Investment program. This project is the first under the renewed and revamped program. Within a year of having made the announcement, we have reached very close to an agreement with the Range Group and were able to sign a memorandum of understanding earlier this year. This speaks to the seriousness with which this government makes promises to the nation and the diligence with which we pursue investment and development opportunities for our country and our people.
The Citizenship by Investment program is another means of expanding the tourism product into opportunities for earning income and improving the lives of Dominicans. The Honorable Prime Minister outlined some of the current strategies that government is undertaking to expand the tourism product.
The Douglas Childs Airport, at the time named the Melville Airport, was rehabilitated and the runway lighted and lengthened. We are discussing and have signed an MOU for the construction of an international airport using the build, operate, and transfer model. Improvement of physical infrastructure, especially the road network, the main artery from the airport to Roseau, that is recently named the Dr. Nicholas Liverpool Highway, was part of that plan. Enhancing the quality of the tourism product was another. The Waitukubuli National Trail was developed and commissioned. Facilities at various sites, such as Titu Gorge and the freshwater lake, were constructed, and also work on the Cabrits, the Fort Shirley site.
He says the Citizenship by Investment program is well regulated, and he assures the public that the program will maintain its credibility and integrity. Meanwhile, representatives of workers, employers, and entrepreneurs across CARICOM met on Monday to discuss developments within the Caribbean Single Market and Economy, CSME. The CSME Labor Stakeholders Regional Workshop held at the Fortune Hotel was a way to increase knowledge, gather information, and appreciate how advantageous the CSME is to workers. Addressing the opening ceremony was the Cabinet Secretary to Dominica, Ambassador Steve Farrell, who says labor stakeholders are instrumental in accelerating success as the region moves towards the full implementation of the CSME.
Among the many relevant topics to be discussed, a few stand out as core areas to be addressed going forward, namely the development of the labor market information systems in the CSME, the social protection in the CSME, harmonization of labor legislation among member states. Central to addressing the challenges of free movement of labor is the development and efficient operation of a regional labor market information system. That system is crucial as it will guide policymakers in designing practical and targeted employment relation policies and programs based on the supply and demand of the labor markets. A natural prerequisite, however, will be the development and effective management of national labor market information systems to feed into and support the proposed regional system.
Representatives from across Dominica include the Dominica Employers Federation and Dominica Teachers Association. The CSME remains the platform for regional economic growth and development, providing CARICOM nationals with cross-border employment and business opportunities. Since the CSME became operational, its aim has been to allow Caribbean people to have unfettered access to jobs as well as to commercial and entrepreneurial activities across member states.
The social and economic survival of our region depends to a large extent on creating our own opportunities, finding ways of creating financially viable projects that stimulate employment and entrepreneurial activity. The CSME is at the heart of this, and the more we know, understand, and share the message, the stronger our chances of not just surviving, but surviving competitively as a region will be.
The two-day workshop also explored areas such as education, occupation and social security, as well as the area of Caribbean Vocational Qualification or CVQ. In more news, November is Early Childhood Development Month in Dominica. On Monday, an Early Childhood Development National Symposium was held at the Arawak House of Culture to officially commence activities for the month. The symposium was held to also highlight the work of the Ministry of Education in early childhood development and to set a path for the early childhood sector. Honorable Peter Seja, Minister for Education and Human Resource Development, declared the month of activities officially opened. The minister also articulated the work of government in support of the early childhood sector.
I want to say that the government of Dominica remains resolute to the commitment to have at least one university graduate in every household by 2015. And it is because of this that we seek to ensure that every Dominican child succeeds by affording him or her a solid foundation at the early childhood stage, not just to prepare that child for primary school, but to prepare him or her, to equip him or her with the requisite skills and knowledge that will propel that child on the path of success.
This was the basis for focus on universal access to early childhood education. It was also recognized that children of preschool age in some parts of the island did not have access to preschool. This issue was addressed by the Ministry of Education.
What we have done in the recent past is to move into the primary school where space was available and to create model early childhood facilities within the primary school setting. We have gone further to ensure that support, financial support, has been given to all of our early childhood facilities which meet the required standards, so that on a termly basis, every preschool and daycare center is given a subvention of between $1,500 and $2,500 EC dollars to assist in the smooth and efficient functioning of these schools.
Honorable Seja stressed that this support should not prevent parents from taking up their moral responsibility for financing their children's education. 13 preschool development committees were also officially commissioned. These committees comprise representatives of the Ministry of Education, the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services, as well as parents. The preschool development committees of the 13 new preschools were formed to facilitate a collaborative approach towards the development of children. Also at that ceremony, 9 preschool educators who have given more than 20 years of dedicated service to early childhood education were awarded for their outstanding commitment. They are Avril Alexander, Sterling Benjamin, Rose Caprice, Janice Deja, Marie-Therese Ferrell, Berth Henry, Martha McLawrence, Barbara Vidal, and Cyril Xavier. In related news, Vida George, Assistant Education Officer in Early Childhood Education, is passionate about the welfare and development of Dominica's children. Addressing the National Early Childhood Development Symposium held on Monday, George said there exists a too little too much syndrome in the Dominican society as it relates to the little ones. She explains.
To begin with, I need to point out that among our parents and caregivers, there is still too little known about early childhood development. Too many of our parents do not take time to understand the dynamics of early childhood development. It is very common to hear the principals and teachers of the preschools as well as the administrators and caregivers of the daycares, complain that they organize sessions for parents, but too many parents still do not attend. Some of our children are suffering from a too much television syndrome. In too many homes, the television has replaced the parent. Parents, you need to know that there is no communication when watching television. Parents, instead of the television, take some time to read, to converse, and to play with your children. Another challenge that is crippling our children is a too much junk food syndrome. Despite the pleas of our principals and teachers to give our children healthy snacks, children come to school with too much junk food, which only alters the functions of their developing brain, gives them cavities, and predisposes them to being obese.
She added that children still experience too much negligence and are exposed to too much violence from television programs. George also lamented that child physical and sexual abuse still exist.
Children come to preschool stating what they see the adults in their homes doing or what they see on the television programs. Sometimes it even goes as far as having these innocent ones wanting to practice what they see on the other children at the preschools. Parents, we need to stop our children from being exposed to these sexual acts. Pull the curtains and close the doors when you are going to play, and refrain from alluring your children to watch these television programs that corrupt their innocent minds.
The early childhood sector has planned a list of activities for this month, Early Childhood Development Month. And Malcolm Bertrand has been re-elected chairman of the Dubla-Bioche Village Council. The council held its 17th inaugural meeting on Thursday, November 6, 2014. Honorable Minister for Agriculture Matthew Walter, who represented the Honorable Prime Minister, extended his commendations to both the incoming and outgoing councils.
Let me secondly congratulate the chairman and his team of newly sworn-in councillors for achieving that great victory from you, the people, in whose hands the power lies, to manage your community for the next 3 years. Let me also commend and thank the outgoing councillors who are here. I understood from all report that they served the community well. And it is your expectation and our expectation that this new council will serve this community as well.
Honorable Parliamentary Representative for the Coliho constituency, Ronald Tulo, outlined to the new council a few tips to create a successful local government.
As a local government, we must acknowledge things are rough, times are hard, and resources are hard to come by. Therefore, I implore you to think differently and plan differently. A good council recognizes that very quickly. A good council realizes that the villagers expect services to be provided and provided well. This is the hallmark of a good council. And I can personally attest that Dubla-Bioche Council has that trait.
The Honorable Minister for Community Development, Gloria Shillingford, reminded the newly sworn-in council of the importance of working with central government in order to see more fruits from its efforts. Bertrand and his team, made up of Kimisha Adams, Shirma Moransi, Alice Adams-Vache, Henry Morris Sango, Elvis Sabruch, Cook Dumas, and Grethel Joseph, will serve the community on the council for the next 3 years. Bertrand is optimistic about the new term.
We continue to work as a community and as a council as we develop our infrastructure, particularly the roads which feed into different sections of the communities of Dubla and Bioche. In 2013, the community repaired 30 feet of drain in Bioche and 100 feet of road was reconstructed in Dubla. Also, short-term employment was created for 10 persons plus 2 subcontractors who employed another 10 persons during the brush cutting from Point Trong Bridge to Bioche bus stop. Funds were also received early 2014 for the construction of a river wall in Bioche. The project was managed by a local contractor. Later on in the year, the council also received funds to complete a river wall in Dubla.
He announced that his council's plan for moving forward is to help fulfill the needs of the residents. The chairman listed projects which the council hopes to undertake in its new term. The first on his list is the upgrade of the Dubla playing field.
Dubla has been prevalent in producing a high level of sportsmen. We have produced cricketers on the West Indies team far more than other communities in Dominica. We have also produced national footballers. And we believe that we will continue to produce national cricketers and West Indian cricketers as long as our resources are well kept. And hence, we are looking at the upgrading of the Dubla playing field, a venue which is very popular for hosting cricket, football, rounders, and athletics, both on local and national level.
Other projects include a boat ramp in Dubla, the completion of the Dubla Community Center and back road in Bioche, the renovation of the preschool, the construction of storm drains, and the installation of lights throughout the 2 communities. And that's the English news. McPherson St. Luce is next with the Creole highlights.
Allô tout le monde, bienvenue à cette nouvelle en créole. Non moins, c'est McPherson St. Luce. Premièrement, Premier Minister Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit a fait parole que National Employment Program que le gouvernement lancé peut venir initiative permanente. Honorable Skerrit fait parole que l'argent pour le programme là qui est sorti Venezuela. Premier ministre a dit qu'il y a une discussion et puis le gouvernement Venezuela financier le programme là. Premier ministre a dit plusieurs d'autres gros projets comme l'hôpital neuf, base avion international, scholarship pour étudiants, service social pour les gens qui sont vulnérables, secteur pêcheur et puis stipend pour les gens qui déjà travaillent, tout catapé attention au gouvernement. Premier ministre Skerrit aussi fait parole que le gouvernement bien plaisir activement en ces 14 l'année là qui passait. En d'autres nouvelles, membre parlement pour Roseau Valley, Honorable Dr. John Colin McIntyre, bien plaisir pour le développement qui prend place en Foncani et puis Chaufford. Selon Honorable McIntyre, d'autres développements qui continuent.
Foncani, c'est là mon fait, c'est là mon levé. Et bien, depuis moi là, Foncani là, à mon faut être en wafama qui fait là, et bien damagé am chimère. Et bien, pour comme c'est pour 30 years, nous pas donné rien, plus passer 30 years. So naturellement, on fait un bon petit chimère à Foncani. On fait un bon petit chimère côté là avec qui London Town. Là c'est tout le monde qui sortira à Londres, c'est là avec c'est. So moi quand manger chimère à ces monde là because you pas tenir rien. C'est là mon fait mon caïd. C'est pas monde qui camarade pour l'eau. Comme si des négo caïd là déjà, il y a monde qui travaille là, monde qui aller l'école so yo pas camarade pour l'eau, mais pour ça maté canobelier yo. So mon fait ça ba yo. Là on monter am Chaufford. Chaufford c'est un centre de terrain mon cher Winston. Il vend ça pour ces monde là. Ça c'est private bagaille. Pas tenir chimère là. Pas tenir glou là, c'est nous gouvernement ça, ni qui ne peut faire ça. Moi faire ça pour ces monde là. So tout mon cas tout seul mon cas de ce moment. Catcher pas nobile ça là yo sorti. Pas tenir chimère, yo gagné à cher. Yo pas taper, yo pas mettre chimère ba yo, nous mettre chimère ba yo. Yo pas tenir glou, yo ni pour chayer glou, connaître là où yo caille, pas ni glou, aller à toilette pour boutique, I'm sorry, cuisiner pour faire un déjeuner, pas ni glou. Moi mettre glou ba ces monde là, Docha, ça c'est Chauffeur. So ça m'a dit pour tout le monde, je vais continuer à faire chimé bayo, because M. Winston m'a déjà, rien pas qui fait. So gouvernement est pour prendre ça, avec ça nous travailler pour ça. So moi dit ce monde là, travailler pour nous. C'est nous qui sommes là, là il y a besoin nous. C'est moi qui suis là, il y a besoin de monde pour aider yo. Moi tant c'est au cas avec un métier gloire bayo, moi mettre chimé bayo. So celle ça m'a dit actuellement, si portez-moi pour moi mener plus bas, c'est tout.
On a trouvé le ministère de l'Éducation, honorable Peter Saint-Jean, qui avait organisé significance contribution gouvernement pour le développement de l'éducation des enfants en Dominique. Honorable Saint-Jean fait parole cela pendant le symposium national à l'éducation des enfants qui prend place en Dominique lundi. Et le gouvernement développé l'occasion en l'école à Primary pour faciliter l'éducation des enfants. Ministre Saint-Jean dit qu'il aller plus loin que ça, où le gouvernement a bat l'argent pour l'occasion des enfants qui a tapé en subvention tous les termes. Ministre Saint-Jean fait parole que même si ça a fait, parents ont une responsabilité faire contribution pour le développement négocié. Il dit aussi qu'il a créé assez papa pour prendre responsabilité welfare négocié et puis pas laisser seulement pour maman là. Et puis finalement, workshop qui Discover Dominic Authority qui a conduit en collaboration avec le ministre de l'Éducation en bas programme TVET pour trainer teachers en affaires nutrition qui dit 10 semaines. Parole ça là sur le coordinateur TVET, M. Abraham Durand.
Workshop qui pour 2 semaines. Il pour 10 jours, semaine ça la semaine prochaine, mais après ça c'est mon que c'est participants qui pour continuer à étudier, il y a assigné pour faire avec et qui prend l'autre 2 mois avant ça le certificat. C'est mon ça qui fini mois décembre, mois janvier. Là il fini faire toutes les restes ça qui est nécessaire pour tout le monde.
Durant expliquer significance workshop là pour Dominique.
Workshop ça son programme qui a une grosse significance pour Dominique parce que après nous fini traitement ça là, nous pas gagner beaucoup de personnes l'autre pays pour venir dans nous même traitement encore. Avec Dr. Don Pierre dit ça parler bon matin. Et observe que les autres pays ni bien payé, ça y est master trainer, c'est mon qui a tapé certificat master trainer. Avec nous qui ni master trainer nous-mêmes, comme ça il est plus facile, il est plus cheap pour nous ça faire trainement ça pour les autres monde Dominique, comme ça nous ça continuer ce programme nous-mêmes en ce jour.
Messieurs, mesdames, ça c'est tout pour nouvelle en créole pour à présent. Non moi c'est McPherson St. Luce. Au revoir.
Coming up next, how you can boost your diet and take advantage of these hot tropical days.
Dominica is blessed with an abundance of water, but getting it to your home is an expensive venture. You have a responsibility to conserve water, to use it wisely. Remember the old adage, you never miss the water till the well runs dry. Think water, think life.
In Dominica, we can take advantage of these really hot days and the abundance of fruit to add some vitamins and fun to your diet with locally dried fruit. By far the most environmentally friendly method, sun drying, is really only a viable option for those living in climates with high heat and relatively low humidity like Dominica, and where you can guarantee that this fine weather will last 2 to 4 days. To dry your own fruit, line a baking tray with cheesecloth or fine netting. Arrange fruit slices on the tray and place in direct sunlight. Turn your fruit once a day to promote equal drying. Depending on how dry you want it, you can have your own dried fruits in a matter of hours. And that's all for this edition of National Focus. We always welcome your suggestions and comments. Drop us an email at gis@dominica.gov.dm or visit our website news.gov.dm. Like our Facebook page, facebook.com/GISNewsDominica. You can also catch up on past National Focus newscasts on our GIS Dominica YouTube channel. From all of us here on the GIS News Production team, I'm Jarna Hector. Thank you for watching.